See you later, Ken.
See ya.
Didn't realize I went to class.
Uh-oh.
Have a good weekend.
See you, Aria.
Thank you, you too.
Hello, everybody. Scott Roberts here with Explore Scientific, and I believe this is our 7th episode of the OpenGOTO Community Live. Could be wrong, but I think that's it. And anyways, today Jerry Hubbell could not be with us, but Kent Marts is with us today, and we have several topics we want to cover with you. Jerry had asked for a personal day today, and we're happy to give it to him. So he works really hard. We kind of stopped off with our show yesterday with a bunch of astrophotography, or some astrophotography. We had to cut it off early because we had another show where we had Rodrigo Saleda from Chile joining us to tell us about the astronomical community in La Serena, Chile, and also about his telescope shop, which was his dream to build, called North Optics, which is down there, and the passion that drives him. Today, we're going to have another show like that, which is going to be Ray Kahn from Kahn Scope Center. Kahn Scope Center has been around for a long time, and Ray has been in the business for, gosh, I think over 40 years, so it'll be really interesting to hear from him. We got Dusty Haskins here, and Perseus Celeritis Blaid, is that right? And Gary Palmer from the UK. Gary and I were chatting a little bit earlier today about narrowband filters, and he was showing me some really cool images. So when I finally get Gary on the show, I think you guys are going to be really blown away. What is our first topic today, Kent?
The first topic today is in response to, we've opened a couple of new subgroups that have caused people to start getting emails that they not necessarily want to get in that thread. And so,
so they're on one group, but now we have these subgroups and they're getting too many email. Is that what's happening?
Correct. Yeah. So go ahead and bring my screen up, Scott, and I can show people real easy how to do this.
Okay. There we go.
Okay. So on every different subgroup, right over here in subscriptions, you can click. And right here is email delivery. And you can set individual messages to come to your email, a full featured digest that'll give you 12 messages in something rich formatting, so it'll be formatted like the messages. A plain digest, which is just emails with no formatting. A daily summary, which will just give you all the messages that were posted every morning from the previous day. And special notices only when the moderators send out a special notice, or you can select this option, no emails.
Yeah.
So you have to do this for each one of the threads that you have subscribed to. So this is also the place where you can set your signature for use in the email and web postings. So your signature is there and people know who you are. And we like to have people put what gear they're using, what tripods, what telescopes, guiding. Lots of people put their information as well for computer programs and things like that.
Sure. Sure. Okay.
So that's a little bit about that.
Okay. Yeah, just to kind of manage your email. I know, I mean, all of us get tons of email. I've been in this business, the telescope business, since 1980, and of course, when I started, mail was real mail. It came in a an envelope, and it was addressed to you. A lot of times they were handwritten. And or typed out. I had a typewriter when I was working at Mead Instruments, and I had to type out each individual response. You know what? A really heavy day was about 20 pieces of mail back in that time. So it wasn't that easy to pound out a letter. It had to be it had to be business form. It had to be on letterhead, put in the envelope, sealed, stamped, sent away, and you would get your response in a few days. That's pretty cool. But people use email today like it's instant chat almost, So, something I would like to point out, if you worked in our customer service department, you have to do, you got to do regular phone calls, live chats, respond to messages, respond to emails, the occasional real snail mail that comes through, and then occasionally, and like every day, Ken is on live with me on Facebook. So
And you left out try and monitor the various Facebook forums that are out there.
That's true. That's true.
And then
You are on groups.io, on
right.
this the OpenGOTO community, and some of the Facebook groups, and I believe Cloudy Nights and some of that. So it's a full day of really being engaged. So how times have changed. And we make ourselves very, very available. So, we try to leave a time for a bio break and some lunch, and, and that's it. But do you get tired of it? I mean, does it bug you that you're involved every day, or do you
No,
know what to think about it? You hate astronomy now that you've been working here?
No, it's going on 2 years in October.
Yeah.
And I get up every day excited to come to work. I mean,
I do too.
It's fun to help people, and the challenge is Scott never goes to sleep, but that's a whole. Somebody
We
says
need to explore Scientific USA energy drink is what one
yeah.
of the guys says.
What I was going to say, Scott is our energy drink. So it's a new challenge every day. It's always interesting to see what people come up with in new and interesting ways. In fact, we're going to see a couple of pictures here in a few minutes that it's impressive to see how people are creative and come up with innovative ways to use gear.
Yeah.
And there's and this is not there's so many beginners out there that it's an exciting time because I'm working with a person in Northern California who bought a MacCas 152 and a Exos 2 non PMC-Eight GoTo mount, and has never seen or touched a telescope before.
Wow.
And I am talking her through it over the telephone. The NT114CF, a small telescope we sell in the mass market, generates a lot of calls.
Newtonian. Yeah, right. But,
and so
people get started off with the most modest of things. I often show this, but this is what started me in astronomy. This is the telescope. It's a 40 millimeter Kmart refractor, on this little spindly tripod, metal tripod. Still has the Kmart focal tag on it. This is from 1970, folks. This is what I begged and screamed and cried for my parents to get me. Okay, it has it doesn't even have a diagonal. It's got a push-pull zoom eyepiece. It does have a rack and pinion focuser, which is pretty cool. And then it's got this sighting tube. There's no glass in here, by the way. This sighting tube for the finder. And by the way, there's no adjustments either. So finding stuff with this little telescope was a challenge. But I keep it on my desk, as that constant reminder that the most humble of telescopes can lead you to a lifelong interest in science. So, yeah, Perseus says, what, 1970? Give it to me. No way, dude. This was given to me by my parents, and it's a treasured item. It's a treasured item. So anyhow, where were we going?
Okay, yeah. Oh,
I got lost in 1970.
Scott lost in 1970. He can remember 1970. So if y'all see me looking down and like I'm writing something, I am. I'm also taking notes on the time changes for when we change discussion topics, because these also get posted on Facebook, and we're indexing them and building up a catalog of when we talk about things.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody wants to know about, say, how to update your firmware, and we need that. I'm a visual learner, so I will watch a video. We have that, and we say at this time on this video, you can go to it and see how to do the update the firmware. And in reality, that was one of the topics we have for today. Is and I'm going out of order, so I'm jumping around on Scott. People are asking for a video. We actually showed for how to do the firmware update. We showed that in the episode 3 video that we did on June 8. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you go to the Explore Scientific channel, it's easy to find.
Yeah,
and
I put
you can
on
see
this
that.
posting. I put a direct link to it. So if you want to go check it out after the show, just click on that link. It'll take you right to that YouTube channel. So it's a good place to archive these things. In Facebook, you get so many posts, one on top of the other, it's hard to dig through it. YouTube helps us organize it better. So, yeah.
So, talking about the firmware update, Bill Black, who is the user who identified what caused the firmware update, and if you're not familiar, it was a slewing, a pointing problem between 1 and 3 degrees when you were moving at a certain, in those 3 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
you're close to something, you moved 1.5 degrees and it would overshoot. And a number of users, and I don't want to do a shout out for all of them because I'm afraid I'll miss one of them, but there was a group of 5 or 6 people who contributed data, and it got tracked down, and Jerry and Wes McDonald did some testing and put the firmware out there earlier this week.
Right.
And this is what Bill wrote. Finally had some clear skies last night and was able to get out with the new firmware. It worked great. I was hitting target after target within minutes, regardless of where it was in the sky, on either side of the meridian, even. I'm going to say better than any go-to mount I've used in the past. I would post some updated measurements, but they would not be interesting because the mount just points exactly to any target I pick now. So I don't think you can find. Yeah, wow, exactly.
It's these kinds of improvements. When I worked at another company, we didn't take every suggestion and every tip. There was no way there was no way to really organize it back in those days, and frankly, the mindset is that we know better than the customer. Now,
but we don't take
true.
that.
That is absolutely not true.
Yeah.
The customers know how they want to do astronomy better than anyone, and so there may be an ingenious new feature that some engineer comes up with or whatever, but the customers themselves know how they want to get the job done, and it's that user-driven improvement that really does help out. So, this was a small, well, not really a small problem, but a problem, in our testing. What we do is we test, okay, well, let's make this really extreme. Let's point from here to there and here to there and here to there and here to there. Okay, and if he hits that, of course it's going to work on everything else. But in this case, this 1.5 degree range away from another object was a problem. So not something we would have guessed.
Yeah.
So it's nice to get that pointed out. And, Jerry Hubbell has been extremely responsive on that. So,
And the
Gary
thing
Palmer,
is,
go ahead.
it existed from day one.
From day one, and we are just now hearing about it. And we've had this out for how many years now?
5.
Yeah. Gary Palmer says, can we get an Explore Scientific customer gallery page or group on Facebook? Yes, Gary, we can. Where we can post images from your equipment and products we own. Yes, we can. I will do that today. I will make a Facebook page, and or Gary, you and I can talk. Maybe it is Facebook where we go. Another place to do that would be Instagram. But the gallery itself, I would look at how we can also populate that back on our own website, so that you can see like a bunch of gallery images or something. Good suggestion, Gary. So I appreciate it.
So, when I read that from Bill Black, I said, I'm sharing that during the broadcast today.
Yeah.
Because it was
thank
just
you,
like,
Bill. That was awesome, man.
Yeah. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Dusty Haskins says, "Ooh, Gary, I love it." There we go, Dusty. We love it when people love what we're doing, but we really want to find out when they don't like it, so we can listen to what they're saying. Scott stresses that. Listen to what people are saying and
Sure.
find ways to respond.
Sure.
So, this becomes a very a somewhat technical and for some people non-intuitive thing.
Okay.
The question, Scott, is leveling really important if you have a good polar alignment?
Okay. All right. So here's the rub. Okay. If you are level in the east and west plane, then when you do a polar alignment, okay, you're going to track properly across the sky, just tracking in right ascension. All right. If we unlevel the north-south leg, that's okay, because we can take the equatorial head and compensate for that unlevelness. All right, that's fine. If I am unlevel east or west, I can get the polar axle to kind of point at the pole. Actually, I can point it right at the pole. But
so it's
the tracking is going to be off, because I'm going to be, I'm going to be making a drift in north or south drift. Okay, and if I'm only tracking in right ascension, if I have a computer system that has got a pointing model in there where it will stay on the object and track that object, like the PMC-Eight Explore Stars combination will, that algorithm will actually still point and track those objects. But what's going to happen is you're going to get field rotation in the field, and the objects will very slowly spin. Visually, you're not going to notice this, but an astrophotographer is going to pick it up right away.
But it doesn't keep you from doing astrophotography either, if you're willing to sacrifice the edges, because it's sort of like taking a piece of paper and then stacking one up a little bit like that, and then like that, and then like that, and then like that. So all you're going to get is this small area in here where all the overlap occurred in however many you stacked. So it doesn't stop you from doing astrophotography, but it creates some fringes that you will have to crop off, and that may sacrifice some quality or cause you to blow it up so it pixelates or something like that. But it can be done. It doesn't.
Yep.
It just is an issue you have to deal with.
Right. Perseus has a question. He says, this is slightly off topic, but we'll answer it. The telescopes, can they serve frequency of light to understand the universe more? That's what telescopes do, okay? Telescopes gather more light than what we can see with an unaided eye, okay? They resolve more detail than our eyes can resolve. And so with greater detail and greater light gathering ability, we're able to see things, photograph things that are largely invisible to the human eye. And so, yes, that allows us to see more of the universe. And, if you have studied some of the science behind it, that combination of studying the science and seeing the visual aspect of that gives you a deeper understanding of it. From there, it just goes even further. You can have a camera attached to it and see even more. You can attach filters that attenuate that light, that spectrum, so that you can do amazing astrophotography from even in a light polluted city. And so that's a thing that when we get to Gary's program, you're going to see a lot of that. And then if you look in the frequencies of light that maybe in the infrared, for example, you can understand another level, and it just goes on and on. So this is the basic science of astronomy, Perseus, and so and it all starts with studying this stuff in books, websites, images. You can spend lifetimes going through it.
Scott, Perseus had another question as well.
Okay.
He asked, how many degrees do the stars move in the frame per day?
If you turned off the drive, so there's no tracking, a star is going to move 15 arc seconds across the sky. This is the sidereal rate, okay? When you're looking overhead, stars are moving at the sidereal rate. This has to do with the spinning of the Earth, okay? And so 1 degree is 3,600 arc seconds. So if you turn off the drive in 15 arc seconds, you can do the math. Calculate, divide 3,600 by 15. That's 1 degree, and it will tell you how many minutes or how much time it takes for a star to move 1 degree. Now, the frame, we don't know what the frame is that you're talking about. The frame could be an eyepiece that's giving you a 1 degree true field of view. If you have a really wide angle eyepiece, it could be a 2 degree, or 3 degree true field of view in the extreme measure. So that's the answer to that.
It could be a 15 millimeter lens pointed at the sky, and that will, take
be in the field for a very, 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 very long time. Yeah.
Right.
But it will
the
move
ultimate
across the field. So
the ultimate answer is the Earth rotates once on its axis in average numbers once every 24 hours. So in a 24-hour period, every star will appear to move across the sky 360 degrees, making a full revolution. Mm-hmm. Well, we know the stars change over a period of nights, and that's why the sky changes from season to season. So the rotational period is not exactly 360 degrees in 24 hours. So that gets into it as well. Scott, you want to switch screens and let's do some astrophotography looks.
Yeah, let's check this out. Okay.
Okay, so here's a picture from Max. It's a single 5-minute exposure taken with a Canon 450D and an 18 to 55 millimeter lens at 18 degrees, the ISO 800. Now, this is in the group, this is in the thread IXOS 100 astrophotography. So because he didn't, it's become populated with the Exos 2 mount as well. So we're going to assume this is taken with an IXOS 100 because it was really early in the thread. And so, it's a nice, beautiful star field. Looks like the Milky Way. And and so it's just a pretty shot. I can't blow it up. It's not big, so I can't make it big. Here's another one from Max, M31, obviously, Andromeda Galaxy. He says he's using, now this is interesting, and this gets back to that creativity I was talking about, a homemade 40 millimeter f3 guide scope and camera, or guide scope with a dash cam. Okay.
Wow.
So he's using a dash cam for a car with a homemade f3 40 millimeter guide camera or guide scope. He's using a Canon 450D 300 millimeter Takumar lens, and he's in light polluted Bortle 7 skies. So, as you can see, total exposure 100 minutes.
So he's using a 300 millimeter Takumar on a Canon 450D and a homemade 40 millimeter f3 guider. Oh, so he's auto guiding with a dash cam? Is that correct?
That's what it looks like.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and he doesn't say how many. He doesn't give us.
That's creative.
Yeah, and I may ask him to send us a picture of that rig, because
we need to see a picture of that rig.
I'm gonna make a note and ask Max. Max rig. Right. I'll see if we get a picture of that and share it at some point. But you can see the fine detailing. This is with a DSLR. And so there's some noise in the sensor that DSLRs generate, especially if it's a warm night. The sensor can build up some temperature issues and cause some noise and sort of graininess to appear. But I wish I knew how long the exposures were on that. Now we're going to scroll down, and this is a person. Here's another one. This is Max. Again, 38 122nd exposures, using a 3M 5CA 500 millimeter lens, using his homemade auto guider with an AR0130 sensor. Don't know what that is, and the Dumbbell Nebula.
Yeah.
And
tight little stars.
Yeah, tight little stars, round. Little bit of comb or field coverage up here in the corners, but for a DSLR, that's pretty darn good. Now we're going to move down here and this is Amanda McAlpin, who a year and a half ago had never taken an astro photo in her life. So she spent last summer and into the fall struggling, and I spent time with her on the telephone, and she kept pounding away at it, and she locked on to it like a bulldog and didn't let go. So here's a picture of her pinwheel galaxy. Okay.
Nice.
So nice.
Wow. So she
round
did
stars. So she and what I love about this picture is down in the bottom right hand corner, that little galaxy down there.
Oh yeah, the little edge on.
Yeah, a little edge on galaxy, and maybe some nebulosity up in the other top left hand corner. If you start looking, there's probably a bunch of other little galaxies in here that are so small they just look like stars.
What is this watermark? It says at Grumpy Gumption.
That's her copyright mark that she puts on. That's her email address. And so let me see. So what are we doing here? Okay. So
now we got 2 minutes left here.
How many?
We have 2 minutes. Yeah,
okay, so
wrap it up.
There's her Helix Nebula.
I've got Raycon coming on.
All right, and here's her Trifid Nebula.
Oh, wow.
Trifid. Really good job.
Yeah,
stars,
beautiful.
Round stars to the edges.
And she's a beginner, right? She's just a ranked beginner. Okay.
Ranked beginner. A year and a half ago, ranked beginner. I mean, she's got round stars up here in the corners.
Yeah.
So she really began to master it. Now, what the interesting part about this is that she's somewhere in here. She says what she's doing. Oh, here it is. The weight, this is an Exos 100 with a regular tripod, not with the heavy duty. She did all this in the early days with just this. The telescope, camera, counterweights, etc. come to a drum roll, please. 24 pounds or 20 pounds. So she's doing this kind of astrophotography with an IXOS 100 that we rate at 9 pounds for astrophotography. And she's producing pictures like that. And this post was from September of last year. She had just started doing this.
Yeah.
And she's working from Bortle 708 Skies on the campus of the university where she works. And she's getting pictures like that with a mount that retails right now for $349.
Yeah, that's a great deal. That's a great deal. It used to cost a lot more to be in this hobby. You know, it's also very cool. Now, I'll kind of end this with the advances in astrophotography. I mean, it's really cool to sit in with guys, like Gary Palmer and other astrophotographers, Chuck Ayub, and it's to see how these guys work, to see them share their work, to know that there are filter manufacturers out there making just the ultimate filters for capturing that very thin segment of light in these narrowband regions to produce some amazing stuff from your backyard. So, don't think that you have to be in great dark skies. I mean, it's beautiful if you are, but you can do so much from your backyard in astrophotography, and products like the IXOS 100 are making it possible to start off with a modest rig, but to do really all the advanced things that the best astrophotographers out there can do. So with better equipment, it gets better, but you can get your feet wet, so to speak. So anyhow, I want to thank everybody for showing up today. Thanks everyone for your comments. We will be back on Monday with Jerry Hubbell, and we've got a lot more to show you coming up on this program. And in half an hour, we've got Ray Kahn from Conscope Center up in Toronto, Canada. Been in the business, the astronomy business, for over 40 years. He had gotten started in astronomy as a child, maybe 6 years old, in London, makes the move over to Canada, and has been knows everyone in the industry and a lot of characters. So you're going to hear some history about the industry from his perspective, and you're going to learn about Conscope Center out there in Toronto. So we will see you, and if we don't see you guys, have a great weekend, and keep looking up.
Thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.